Well, now finally, our friends across the pond can enjoy a show of ours. You have been asking us nonstop to do something during the day, and here we are, 4 hours ahead of schedule. So, cheerio and happy tea time. Steve?
Weren't you supposed to do that in an English accent?
I can't do it. With this country accent, I can never pull it off. I can never pull it off.
I'm horrible at doing English accents.
Yeah, me too. So welcome everybody. Welcome back to the show. Last night's show, I think, turning out to be one of the most popular. If you didn't catch it, I recommend going and watching it. We had Dr. Don on, and he went through several different. I mean, we covered how many subjects did we cover last night? We covered.
I think quite a few.
Flat Earth conspiracies, evolution. It's fascinating, so you'll want to see it. And the reviews for him are fantastic. And we're actually really excited because he's going to be back with us on a Saturday night fight. And if this is the first time you're catching the show, then number one, where have you been? We've missed you. And number two, we do a thing on Saturdays where we call it Saturday Night Fights. We usually open it up, open house. By Saturday, it's full. The information how to get involved is in the description of the event. It's already set up on our page. But anyway, he's actually going to be in one of the Saturday Night Fights. He is going to be Dr. Don is taking on Flat Earth. So gotta love it.
Can you imagine being that flat earther to say that you've taken on Dr. Don Prothero on Flat Earth? Not even about evolution. Not even about now you got me messing up his word. Prothero.
Yeah.
And can you imagine that guy's going to get notoriety, whoever that flat earther is, because that's something to be said that if you're going to be having a flat Earth discussion with him. He's a
big deal. I think it's got to be Wonton. I think he's got to be the sacrificial. I say that because Wonton actually this is gonna really warm your heart, Steve. Wonton sent an email on Christmas Day saying best wishes to you and I, and he hopes that we have a wonderful holiday. So I kind of feel bad for all those times with Wotan. I'm sorry, I'll call you Wotan today. So anyway, let's get into the show tonight. Then we are going to have what I think is going to be a really great, interesting discussion. I don't think you could have two people that are on further ends of the spectrum, but I think that having conversations between the two would be vital and may lead somewhere that has a good ending to it, I think. So we have Dr. Kristi Winters, who is a self-proclaimed, what wave would you say that you identify with, Kristi? There's so many waves of feminism. What's the current wave we're on?
I grew up during second wave feminism. That's sort of when I came of age, but I certainly take on the critiques of third wave feminism and would consider myself in terms of the ideas I have, I'm a third wave feminist in that way. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, welcome. This is your first time here. Welcome to the show. And also for the first time, we have Serge. Serge is the owner, and he runs the largest. Serge, I would say that's fair to say, right? You are the largest forum for incels, correct?
Well, hello. I would say that it is the largest outside of Reddit, but of course on Reddit, like anyone just clicks a button and it's subscribed, so you can't really count them as members, I suppose. But yeah, the largest. Sure.
Yeah, well, and welcome to you as well. Glad to have you both. So we're going to have kind of what we do usually here on the show. Steve and I are going to kind of make sure that things stay on track, but I really want to have the dialogue between Kristi and Serge so that we can kind of see where, if any middle ground can be found, where they differ on what points and why. We just ask guys that you don't talk over each other because the people who are listening, it just sounds garbled. Nobody can hear anybody's points. We'll give you all the time that you need to make whatever points that you want to. That's just the only thing that we ask, is that you let each other finish their thoughts. So now I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Kristi, you want to introduce yourself and let people know who you are, what you do, and kind of how you came to being an online activist?
Sure. I'm Kristi Winters. Dr. Kristi Winters is my official title. I have a YouTube channel I've been on for about I guess going on about 3 years now. And I initially got involved because I wasn't seeing a lot of content bringing a feminist critique to things that atheists were talking about online. I'm also an atheist. And that led me into more understanding of what the discussion about feminism online was. And with the election of Trump, my channel has definitely taken a more political term in terms of critique. So yeah, I have a very spontaneous kind of content production. I get an idea and I work on it for a while and see how it goes. And people want to find me, you can go to YouTube and type in Kristi Winters channel. That's the easiest way to find me, because there's a lot of anti-feminists who don't like me. So if you just do Kristi Winters, you're going to see a bunch of response videos before you actually see the real content of what I actually have to say. So that's usually my recommendation. Yeah, and that's, I guess, enough for the contents of this talk.
Yeah, you had.
I guess I should also say.
Sure.
Yeah, I did my doctoral thesis unpacking empirically the social sciences when we measure man-woman. I kind of questioned what that meant, and so using measures of gender sort of attributes or norms from psychology, I was able to include those measures of agency and communion, which are gendered in society, into other models of predicting political attitudes and political behaviors. And what I found was that, it's known in the literature and psychology that there isn't sort of just masculine mapping perfectly onto men and feminine perfectly onto women, that both men and women produce varying levels of agency and communion. And that is actually also connected to their politics, separate from their biology. Oftentimes, biology no longer mattered once I was able to control for those gendered sort of attributes in terms of how people evaluate their agency and communion. So that's kind of a very short summary. I'm sorry, it didn't sound short, but really it was. So I'll throw that in there too, and then I just have some expertise in this field.
Sure. And you when you say that when you made the comment about there's a lot of people who don't like you, I don't think my Twitter has blown up the way that it has today with with the conversations that you had going on Twitter. It's like every 2 seconds my phone was beeping. So I felt popular today. Thank you, Kristi.
You're welcome. Welcome to my life.
And so, Sarge, let's turn to you now. If you want to introduce yourself and kind of let people know who you are and what you do, and then we'll kick off the talk.
Sure, I'm Sergeant Incel. That's the full username, but Sergeant, Sarge, or anything you want to call me, that's fine. I'm the owner and administrator of Incels.is, the, as you said, biggest incel forum on the web. And I suppose that's it, really.
So I'm going to let you continue on now. For people who are watching that may not be familiar with what an incel is or anything about the community, can you take us through what that actually means and you hinted on it before we started, but the process on how you kind of monitor your community online and that sort of thing. Just give us kind of a rundown of what it means to be an incel.
Of course. First of all, the definition of incel has, I suppose, changed over time, mainly because there's no official authority that says what an incel is. We have our own definition that it has kind of set the standard over time as well. But again, if someone wants to change the definition of incel, I suppose they can, just like the definition of feminist has changed over the years. Now, what an incel is, to me, an incel is a person who, despite having tried repeatedly and over a lengthy period of time to be in a romantic relationship, is unable to. And that is pretty much it. If you want to have a girlfriend and you seem to be unable to have one, then you are, to me, you are pretty much an incel. You mentioned our registration process, and that is more related to the forum itself. It doesn't have to do whether you're incel or not. We reject females, and we reject people who are neither incels nor black-pilled. And I understand that all these things sound kind of weird, but I'm sure we'll touch them in time. And I suppose going more in detail would mean just regarding each case in specific, because of course, when people register on our forum, they have to type in a registration like paragraph or they have to tell us why they want to get in. And yes, a lot of people, because of the of what the media has portrayed of incels lately, or rather over the last few months, we have many trolls and many people who don't genuinely care about incels, but they just want to get in just to see how things are like, or curiosity that is more, of a lazy kind, or a why not kind, instead of a genuine, sincere need to know what incels are. I suppose that I should explain now why we don't allow females. It
Sure,
has nothing to do with misogyny.
And before you do that, I just want to briefly touch. You said that you had about 10,000 members just on your forum alone. How large do you think, as a whole, the community or the population is on a broader scale, like not just the forum? Do you kind of have any idea of what the numbers are? People who would identify as being an incel? Is there any kind of information on that?
Right. That's an interesting topic, actually. I personally believe, I can't give numbers because I'm not an authority in any way or form, even though I'm owner and admin of the, I'm
Sure.
just a guy, right, at the end of the day. So I'm not going to give a number, but the number is definitely far bigger than 10,000. I would go into, like, there's perhaps millions of people in the world that are incel, regarding the definition that I gave. Now,
sorry,
what
would be a
was
good time.
the question again?
Well, you can go into why you don't allow females, and then we'll go over to Kristi and get her kind of take if she's had any experience on. Yeah.
So the reasoning behind no females allowed is it has nothing to do with hatred of women, contrary to what sensationalistic media has tried to portray, but rather because. Well, I could go on. This is a very in-depth topic, but I'll just go, surface here. In general, I'm sure that anyone would agree that if a man and a woman both install Tinder on their phone, and the girl is going to get like 1,000 likes in a minute, while the guy, if he's attractive and I don't know, genuine or whatever you want to think, he probably get some likes, But if the man is ugly, unattractive, let's say, let's not be very vulgar, he's not going to get too many likes, or maybe none. While in terms of females, they usually, they get a lot, even if they're at the bottom of the barrel, let's say. So with that in mind, it's generally very difficult to say that a female can be incel. And this is debatable even in the community. I've had people say to me that they believe females can be incel. I personally believe that you really need to be very, very unattractive, and I mean extremely unattractive, to be unable to find a partner if you really try, and for a length of time, try to find one. Thus, the community, first of all, does not allow females because they can't be incel, in quotes, because I said it's debatable. And second, because, this is something of the female nature. I don't have anything against them, but they generally seem to like to attract attention to themselves. When they are in a forum or just on YouTube or Reddit, they generally start saying, female here, or I'm a girl, but they always need to state the fact that they're females and try to attract attention to themselves, which is, sure, it's just their nature, perhaps, or not. I'm sure Kristi will tell me that. But it also creates problems in the forum itself, because males tend to really orbit that attention. And, when, especially in an incel forum where guys want female attention, it's going to create trouble. So overall, it has nothing to do with a dislike of girls. It's just they don't really fit in the forum.
Okay, Kristi, do you have anything that I'm sure you do? Would you like to respond to any of those first couple points that Serge hit?
Well, I actually have more questions, because I've never had an opportunity to talk to someone who would incel, so I consider this a pretty good some questions as well. In terms of having a men's only space in a private organization, I have no problem with that. I think if they want what I guess you kind of call a safe space for incels, I consider Alcoholics Anonymous a safe space. I consider churches a safe space, or mosques. I think that there's a lot of privations where a membership based on a certain criteria is required, and that's, and it goes both ways. So I'm not going to nitpick, but I am curious. I want a technical question and then a bigger question, if I could, to Serge. First of all, when you do your intake, do you by chance collect the people who are joining the forum? Do they have to, like, at a birth or something when they join to make sure they're over 18 or something?
Kristi, your mic's cutting out just a little bit. You're
okay.
kind of,
sorry about that.
You're kind of choppy there. You might have to restate that question because it was kind of choppy.
Sure, my apologies. The question, I'll try to. It was fine before. I don't know what's going on now. I'll turn some Wi-Fi things off. Maybe that'll help. Is my sound any better yet?
That sounds clear. Yes.
So, okay, good. The question I had was if you collected age cohort data on the people who joined, a year of birth to make sure they're over 18 or something. Just, have the data on sort of like the average age who are in the forum. I would be curious to that.
Well, first of all, let me just say that English is not my first language, so a cohort, I'm not really sure what that means. But the question is clear.
Group. Yeah.
Oh,
like 18 to 24 kind of thing.
Sure. We actually, every 6 months, we do a survey on the forum. I only send the survey to verified incels, in quotes, people I know that they're not trolling, that they're serious in the forum and such. And you can actually find it on the threads that I posted. I don't have it right in front of me right now, but these people say in which range, in which group of age they belong to. Yes. You said above 18, if I knew how many. So I imagine your concern here is whether we allow minors or not.
My concern is, no. It's more just like, do you have 18 to 24, 25 to 34? In other words, do you know the average age of the person using the forum? That's really what I really wanted to get at. Did you collect the data where you could say with some accuracy the average age of the person in the forum, or about what age ranges are most popular?
Well, the latest survey was for about like 400 people, I believe. Definitely not the full scope of the
it's a representative sample.
Membership.
I'm sure.
Right. I would have to look it up, but I suppose I could give you, yes. I mean, I'll look it up while we continue, so not to stop the whole conversation.
It's just my suspicion is just that they're probably like early 20s is kind of the age range I think would be the what's the word I'm looking for, the modal category. Like in the 20s would be the most popular range of people, and that maps onto some data that I've looked at and brought. But aside from that more technical question, which I appreciate you looking up, the other question I had is, what do you think the overall goal or purpose, or the mission statement, if you want to say, of the forum is? What are the sort of values and things that you think exemplify the kinds of activities and what the forum provides its members?
Sure. It doesn't have a particular settled mission per se. You could say that it has two particular ones. If I had to say something now, I would say that one, it allows free speech of its members, and two, it allows the community of so-called incels find, let's say, a place where to meet and discuss incel-related topics with people who understand each other and belong to the same group.
You said the word support there. And in what kind of ways do people support each other there? Like, can you give some examples?
Well, it's not up to me the way the community support itself. I simply manage the forum, but I understand your question, and as that, I would say that I don't know if you had a specific, just to make a bit of a hyperbole. Yeah, you get the point. Here, if you had a specific, I don't know, deformity or a very specific illness that it was very rare in the population, and you found a forum where people who have this specific deformity or illness gathered, I'm sure you would understand why it would be a very precious resource to you. Well, the same way incels who come here find the same kind of relief in finding this place. They can talk to people who understand them. They can read about other people's issues that resonate with their own, etc.
But my understanding of incel forums is, you know, things like the black pill and a real sort of self-hatred generated and rewarded. And that doesn't, to me at least, doesn't seem very healthy for men. It doesn't seem like a very healthy environment for men to be in. So I'm wondering how you consider that support.
Well, if you define the black pill the way that you just did, then of course it's unhealthy, because the black pill is not really about self-hatred. The name, I know it sounds very ominous or perhaps nihilistic, but it's simply a name. The black pill is simply a name given to an ideology, and the ideology is backed up by science. To put it very simply, the black pill is a set of beliefs backed by science regarding our society in terms of sociology, in how romantic and sexual relationships work.
Yeah, I think you actually unpack this, because I don't know that people in the audience understand. So I think we should take some time and really unpack some of the values and the outlooks of the black pill for people to understand. So please go ahead. I mean, I know the ContraPoints. I don't know if people have seen the ContraPoints video on incels. It seemed a very fair representation to me. And so I wanted to give you the opportunity to kind of summarize, you know, the black pill in your words, how you sort of, your understanding of it and what it does for you in terms of your life.
Right. Well, my definition is by no means exhaustive nor sufficient. I'm sure every single incel has, to a certain extent, a different definition. Therefore, please don't take my word as final. But I guess to explain the black pill, I should go before to the blue pill and the red pill, which are termed, at least the red pill, I know it's far more common, at least in the knowledge of people. They have heard the word before, probably. Well, all right. So the blue pill, put it again simply, is the belief that when it comes to relationships, whether it be just friendship or romance or picking up girls, that personality and just being yourself are what matters the most, and that is what is really going to help you succeed in your objective of gathering the, creating that friendship, etc. The red pill says that that view is very naive, and that instead a certain core, let's say, attitudes or behaviors will help you the most. For example, if you use perfume, if you have a certain dominant attitude, if you speak with a deeper voice, a certain haircut, these things will help really push you, to success. And that appearance in particular is very important. The black pill is simply
sorry, can we just go back a little bit? Because sorry to interrupt, but before we get off the blue pill and the red pill, would you characterize the views of women in the red pill as positive views of women? Is there anything positive about women, or do you think that the red pill primarily portrays women in a negative way?
No, by no means. The red pill is simply, how to put it? The red pill says that if you do certain things, things will go better for you. It doesn't talk about anyone being bad or good. The blue pill neither. In fact, I have known women that are red pilled that have picked up on these attitudes and beliefs, and in fact, it has generally benefited them in the way that they have more fuller relationships, and they understand males better. That's my experience, at least in the people that I've known. Of course, I'm sure there are others' experiences out there.
So if I'm understanding this, your description right, when men try to have relationships on sort of an honest basis with women, and is that's, you can never succeed that way, or that's a lie, and you have to kind of use game to win over.
Well, let me put it this way: is it really lying? I mean, if I go to a bar and I see a girl, and I really like her,
I said game.
Really shy.
I said game. Like have specific psychological tactics that you prepare in advance and go into a situation in order to get a certain outcome. It's a transactional thing.
Well, I'm sure you don't need an ideology to know the answer to that. men and women both behave differently when they're playing, the game of seduction, right?
I'm comparing this though to the mentality of the blue pill. That's the point. So I'm trying to create the conceptual distinctions between men and women's relationships in the blue pill, the red pill, and then the black pill.
Well, okay, all right. I'm not sure I follow your question, but let me put it this way. The blue pill would be me going on Tinder, because you talked about game, right? So we're talking about seduction. I go on Tinder and I say, hey, I'm a really shy guy, but I really like you. I think that we should date. While the red pill would be, hey, I mean, I'm not going to make an interpretation
Negging,
here of what
some
someone
kind of
might
negging.
say.
But let's say negging somebody, for instance.
I don't know the definition of negging.
It's a pickup artist tactic. Okay, it's a pickup artist where you insult someone to put them on their back foot rather than giving them a compliment.
No. Why would you do that?
Oh, that's a pickup artist technique. It's meant to make her want then your, I don't know. Anyway.
Kristi, what's been your experience with the red pill? You kind of want to go through and state what you're...
I've watched other people's stuff on it. So I'm sorry I kind of interrupt there, but I'm trying to just really get the distinction. So that's really helpful. I think actually that what Serge was saying about Tinder, like I'm a nice guy but shy. The red pill person kind of goes on with some kind of seduction game in that way. If I could, sorry, and let him continue then. Let Serge continue.
Talking about the red pill, there's no pegging. I believe that was or negging, the word that you used. The red pill simply says that if you have a certain attitude, it doesn't need to be aggressive or violent in any way. It's simply a certain attitude that is more radiant of confidence and knowledgeability or whatever it is. I don't have a list of how to act on Tinder right now, but if you act a certain way, you're more suited to you have more success finding girls than otherwise. I mean, it's very simple. Girls nowadays, I'm not going to generalize, but I'm sure you can imagine that a lot of girls like very to the point, dominant, confident, bold guys rather than shy, I don't know, introverted guys when we're talking about game. No,
I don't really. Again, talking about women, it's a large group, and I think a lot of times incels frame everything as 18 to 22-year-old women, and there's a much broader category of women there to think about. So that's another point. But getting back to how would a black pill person approach Tinder?
Well, first of all, let me just say that's why I say that I did not intend to generalize women. I am not. Now, getting to the black pill, I didn't explain what it is, actually. The black pill is simply a more extreme version of the red pill that says that not only physical appearance is very important, it is extremely important. In fact, it is almost the number one factor when it comes to everything around all relationships around you. There's something, I mean, if you seek studies, relating to success and appearance, you will find many of them. In fact, there's something called the halo effect, which basically says that if you're attractive, you are very prone to having better relationships, a better romantic life. You are given raises more often at work. People like you more. You're, just overall, you have many advantages in life. It doesn't say anything about Tinder. The black pill is not. We talked about Tinder all this time because you talked about game, and I just wanted to give some examples. But just in general, it says that if you are very attractive in terms of physical appearance, then you will certainly have an edge when it comes to any type of relationship.
But would a black pill person say don't even go on Tinder because it's not worth it? Because you'll never get laid.
I don't know.
It'll never happen. That's my impression of the black pill.
Well,
that it's sort of not. It's relationship nihilism. That's my understanding. So.
Well, I'm afraid that you've been reading the wrong sites. The black pill is simply an ideology.
It ContraPoints. Again, the ContraPoints video is a really good source, and again, I think she does a fabulous job. But if That's your take. I guess we can work with that one here. I also feel like I'm doing the job of the interviewers, so why don't I let the guys who actually run this show talk?
Oh no, y'all doing fantastic. This is exactly how we wanted to go.
The only thing
sure.
Well, let me add real quick before asking the live chat. We kind of know what you're referring to when it comes to the pills, but there are people that do not know these topics. Could you kind of briefly maybe explain to them, just in a brief way, what the difference is between red, blue, black, green, purple, chartreuse,
sepia?
Right. So the 3 pills are basically right. This is actually what I wanted to do at the beginning. Give a brief introduction to the pills. The fact that they're called pills and red pill, blue pill, it means nothing itself. The name, it's just a name, right? Overall, they're just ideologies. The blue pill and the red pill comes from the Matrix. Neo, the Matrix, the movie came out in 1999. There's a point at which Morpheus offers Neo 2 pills, a red and a blue one. The blue one basically takes Neo back to the Matrix, where he's happy, I guess, but he's very ignorant and he doesn't know the reality of the world. He's naive. And then there's the red pill, which takes him down the rabbit hole. That's what Morpheus says. It shows him how, I guess, the world really is. So a couple of years later, the PUA and the red pill communities appeared. PUA means pickup artists. They're guys who I don't know much about them, but they use certain tactics to pick up women. That's all that I'm going to say about them, because I'm not an authority on the subject. But the red pill and the blue pill appeared as ideologies. They basically said what I explained before. The blue pill says that you are very naive if you're approaching girls by being yourself and just being, just using your personality to attract them. While the red pill says you want to know the truth. The truth is that the majority of girls, and I am not saying all girls, Kristi, the majority of girls simply like confident guys who are very attractive and who act dominantly and who have the dark triad of personality. The dark triad is narcissism, psychopathy, and Machiavellism. I don't want to get more terms in here, but that's something to consider. And that's pretty much the 2 pills. Years later, in the 2000s, the black pill, actually, I'm not sure if the 2000s or 2010s, just later, the black pill appeared, and it says, you know what, the red pill had it right, but actually it turns out that being attractive gives you far more of an edge than we thought before. So that's pretty much it. Blue pill, don't be naive. You're naive, you're approaching girls using personality and just being yourself. Red pill, you're using attitude and and certain tactics to approach girls. Black pill, just be hot and you'll get the girls.
So what do you do with those? Because to me, I think that there are 2 worlds. Basically, I think there's a world where people who, like us, we're in these sort of talks and discussions on YouTube. So we understand this lingo. We understand what the black pill means, blue pill means, what red pill means. But in a broader sense, I don't think most people categorize their interactions socially. Be it blue pill, red pill, or black pill. That seems to be a term that's mostly used within the YouTube communities. What do you do with that, knowing that whether you adhere to a black pill or a blue pill or red pill? Somebody that takes the black pill, how do they seek to rectify that issue? When you say that only the hot guys can get girls, what's your method to try to find a relationship? What are you guys actually doing to try to fix that issue that you're having?
Right. So a couple of things. First of all, I want to say that these pills are just rules of thumb. They're not laws. Obviously, not only the hot guys are getting laid, ugly guys too. They're just the vast minority, right? No one says that this is like this, period. Second of all, I want to clarify that you can be incel without subscribing to any of these pills. It seems kind of arbitrary that I just brought these things alongside incels, like there's kind of intrinsically related. They're not. You can be incel without being black pilled or red pilled or blue pilled, and you can subscribe to the pills without being incel. Now, you talked about what do we do to remedy those things. Well, ironically, if you believe in the black pill, that means that if you're hot, then that is your biggest factor in terms of attracting girls. Then, well, there's not really much you can do about it, right? I mean, you can, of course, all the memes, you can get a very haircut, and you can use perfume and try to apply as many tactics as you want. But at the end of the day, if a girl on Tinder sees your picture, your personality doesn't get to play a role in it, or nor your pickup lines, nor your jokes that you prepared beforehand, because she's just gonna swipe left. Of course, Tinder is not everything. You can go out and pick up girls at the bar or whatever. But at the same time, if you go to a bar and are trying to pick up girls, and the girl sees you, she's just say, "Nah, not that guy because he's ugly." Maybe she doesn't say it that way, but I mean, let's be honest, that's what they're thinking, at least most of the time. So what do we do to improve it? There's not, as I said, there's not much to do. Some people get surgeries. Sincerely, that's a very legitimate answer, which I personally haven't ever considered, but apparently a lot of people on the forum have, and some have actually done some surgeries. And
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Kristi, what do you say to that about? Can you kind of speak to the? Are women really that superficial and
Well,
and
I don't
shallow?
know. I can't really speak for all women. I mean, I'm just one person. But my lived experience is no. I think that, one of the questions I'd asked earlier was about the average age of the user on the site, because some of the data that I picked up, and if you guys want to bring that up now, I think there were two studies in particular. One was what percentage of the population gets married. And there's a graph in there that shows that over time, if you look at the percentage, like the chance that you're going to get married increases as you get older. And by the time you're in your 70s, it's like 90%. So if we can take marriage as a heuristic for sex, because I think we understand marriage, whether whoever is getting married, there's an idea there that there's going to be, a consensual sexual relationship. People can't divorce for non-consummation. But this is a situation where you can really say it gets better. I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was back in the 90s, there was a real issue of suicide among gay teens because the society was so oppressive. It's so much better now, but at the time, a lot of adult gay people who were famous, people who weren't gay, I think, got into a campaign that said it gets better. And it basically said, look, I know things are tough now. High school is horrible. There's a lot of pressures you're going under. You might be thinking of killing yourself, but believe me, I know because I've gone through that, or I've seen friends go through that, it gets better. And if you look at this chart, the odds are everybody gets married. And this is just men, by the way, that's not women. There's a chart for men and a chart for women. And so, yeah, I think that and the average age for men to get married, at least in the US, is 27. The age of the first marriage for women is a bit younger at 24. And so there's also a bit of a lag there, because I think women do, as a stereotype, prefer older men because they're more mature. They also might be more economically stable, and they might be more experienced, more, confident in bed. So, those things add up. If I'm just I don't have data on that. That's me just purely speculating or just speaking from maybe personal experience. But the other piece of information that I provided was a look at the number of partners you've had by your age cohort, and those are the two pictures with highlighted text on them. And this is looking specifically at heterosexual relationships. And what they find is that the part of the population that is most likely to say they've had 0 or 1 partner is, I think it was men under the age of 25, like 18 to 25 or 16 to 25. But by the time men were in their 30s, they'd had 10 to 26 sexual partners. And I think this reinforces the it gets better narrative. So there was one about, and define it as vaginal intercourse. I can't read that text. Maybe, I think the two pieces are both important. Could you just read those out if you can read them? Because I can't.
Sure. Dave, can you read those?
Yeah, I'll go ahead and read those. It's pretty small on my end too. Let me go ahead and zoom in on the the part here that is actually
I just want to make sure I get the
highlighted.
numbers right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why. And the source is
So-
there in the above.
So here we go.
Oh, I actually think that's the second part.
this is
Did
the
you go back to the other one? Yeah, go back to the bottom of the other page. Sorry to make it difficult for you.
Oh, you're fine. Don't worry about it. It's my job.
Oh, thanks.
So this one. Let's go ahead and zoom in here and pull it up. So
Oh, there we go.
For the distribution of number of lifetime vaginal sex partners, we found similarities across age groups for male and female respondents, with a few minor exceptions. Among 15 to 24-year-olds, sexual activity group 1, 0 to 1 lifetime sex partners, was the most frequently reported sexual activity group for male, 32.2% to 70.5%, and female, 34.7% to 72% respondents. And then the other one says, however, among women aged 25 to 44 years, sexual activity group 2, 2 to 4 lifetime sex partners, was the most frequently reported sexual activity group, 30.3 to 30.9%, whereas for men aged 25 to 44, sexual activity group 4, 10 to 39 lifetime sex partners was the most frequently reported, 27.8 to 34.2%.
So just wait for your late 20s, guys. In your 30s, you really hit your stride.
Yep.
That's what the story I get from that data.
Well,
so
how do you feel about-
you're gonna have sex and you're probably gonna get married. That's what I'm just saying. The odds are really in your favor.
How do you feel about that, Serge?
Well, from what I saw that the data was mainly talking about the people who did get married and who did have partners. But how many of the people in the survey actually never married and never had any partners? Those are the incels.
Well, in the first one, by the time you get into your 70s, it's like 4% or something, or 6%. And we have to remember that some people take a vow of celibacy. And some people choose not to get married. They're asexual people. So I think, when you're talking 100% and you're within 95%, your odds are still pretty good that even in the worst case scenario, in your 70s, you're going to find somebody to marry.
And that, to my question to you, Sarge, is let's take you on a personal level, like not speaking for the incel community as a whole or anything to do with the forum, but you personally, like, since you've started this forum and you've been talking to other people who feel like you do or have the same kind of ideology, has that helped you in any way to like get either more confidence to go out and try to be in a relationship? And are you actively doing things, like are you actively on different platforms trying to get yourself out there, to get yourself out of, because the question that I have is, once you build such a community around the central issue being not being in a relationship, right? And you all sort of form this community where you get close, you're used to seeing each other's posts, and this, you kind of make it into the block where you don't want to go out and find a relationship anymore, because it would go against what the
bros before hoes, man.
What the community as a whole. So
yeah,
how do you,
self-fulfilling at that point, isn't it?
Yeah. So how do you? What are you doing about that?
Right. So, all right. First of all, what you need to understand, I suppose maybe you understand it already, is that most people on the forum are normal guys, in the sense that, for example, I work, I study, I have friends. You see me on the streets and you wouldn't say, oh, an incel goes there. It's just a normal guy. And at work, I don't talk about the black pill or incels. I talk about normal work stuff. So incels are nothing different than normal people. Now, when they go in the forum and they talk in a certain way and they read certain posts, that doesn't mean that they're gonna feel defeated about life, or though certainly many do. But getting to your point exactly, is that a self-fulfilling prophecy? Well, I think that it's on the contrary. To fit the definition of incel, it means that, well, it's incel, right? Involuntarily celibate. I actually never said that. That's what the word means. In order for it to be involuntary, it means that you need to want to try to do it. And that's the definition, which is you have to try repeatedly over a long period of time. If you do not do that, then you are what we call volcel, which is voluntarily celibate or just celibate. So the self-fulfilling prophecy, it can't be, because you only get to the point where you read those posts and get depressed after you have already tried. Now, do the posts, stop you from going out and trying more? Well, let me put it this way. Imagine that you go out and you let's say that you're ugly or not, just you go out and you want to have a girlfriend, or just get a girl to go to the cinema with, and you go and just approach someone, and she says no, right? You feel, well, that hurt, but whatever, let's go for the next one, because it's not the end of the world. So you go and you try again, and the next time you get rejected, or right, you don't even get to talk. She says not interested, or whatever, or I have a boyfriend, even though it's clear she doesn't matter. So, well, that hurt as well, and your confidence is starting to go down a little, because we are human, and humans have emotions, right? So repeat this a number of times, and your self-confidence starts going down, and you eventually feel like it's not really worth it.
Let me clarify what I meant by that. Not necessarily that the post would create a self-fulfilling prophecy, but that you yourself you identify under the moniker of an incel. Like, that is part now of an identity, correct? And if let's say you go out and you get lucky, and you're no longer involuntarily celibate, that instantly pulls you away from that community. You no longer can identify with that community on that base level, because you're achieving what the rest of the group is there to kind of be with, for each other for. So to me, it seems like it would create this sort of resistance to enter in those kind of relationships, because once you do, you're not an incel anymore. So how can you still be a part of that community, still be, talking about the same things, when you have achieved the thing that that community exists for?
Right. I'm sorry, I didn't understand you before. It's actually very funny. We are one of the few communities that actually no one wants to belong to. No one wants to be involuntarily celibate. That's why it's involuntary. So if you actually hypothetically go out and actually have a chance with a girl, that's great for you, and we are all happy. And of course, there will always be in internet anonymous communities people who are jealous and who get angry, but that's normally in all of them, right? Everyone has trolls and people who are bitter or whatever. But I personally always get happy. Now, we have a rule against that actually aids the fact that people who get lucky can still belong to the forum, and that is the simple rule that we do not allow any kind of romantic or sexual talks of romantic or sexual experiences on the forum. In fact, an incel, because of the definition, means that you currently cannot find anyone, which means that perhaps 10 years ago you had boyfriends or girlfriend or whatever, and you had sex a lot, and then for whatever reason now you can't, and therefore you are incel, and now you belong. But as long as you don't talk about that, because we don't want to hear your story about how you shagged some girl, right? That's not what the forum is for. So as long as you keep those things outside the forum, you can stay all right. One of the rules is that we do allow black pill people. That is someone who is not an incel, but who believes that overall girls go for the most attractive guys, and those people can stay all right, and in fact are indistinguishable from actual incels, because they don't talk about their experiences, and that's fine with us. At least fine with me. Some incels don't like it, but it's my forum.
Sure.
Wait, so you could have a quarter or half of the people in the forum actually being in a relationship and just not talking about it, and still being on the forum, and you wouldn't know.
Or if they become,
for all I know,
if they become sexually active, are they no longer members of the community?
No, he just said that they
All right,
weren't.
No,
let
he
me.
just said they could stay.
They could stay.
They can stay,
Right.
but they're no longer incels.
I understand the confusion. We have three points in membership. One, females are not allowed. I already touched on that topic. The second is that incels are allowed. If you try to if you try to get into a relationship repeatedly and through a long period of time and you are unable to, then you can get in. And if you are black-pilled, you can get in as well. Now, what does that mean? That means that one, you are not incel, because you are in another bullet point. Otherwise, you're incel. An incel can be black-pilled, but you're still in the incel part. So the black-pilled point is for people who are not incels, but who are not going to go against our beliefs and go, hey, why don't you go out and get girls? Just be confident, or who aren't going to throw platitudes away and when they get in the forum. That's why we need to specify that these people need to be black-pilled. Otherwise, the forum would be just Reddit, right? That's
sure.
So,
yeah. And Kristi, I want to get your any type of points that you want to bring up to what the kind of chunk that we just went over, and then we're going to switch gears and let Serge either ask you any questions if he's had any for feminists, like if he's wanted to know kind of anything that your movement, if he has any questions towards that way. So we're going to kind of let him ask you some questions after that, but I wanted to see if you had any comments based on the last little chunk of discussion we had just there.
Sure. Well, I think it would be remiss for me to not bring up, because I'm also wanted to take this opportunity as a social scientist to learn a bit. And I have some quibbles with the characterization that Serge has put forward, but he's doing his spin. That's okay. I respect that. Tip my cap. I understand where you're coming from. But I think that one of the things that really troubles people, the things that most people associate with incel forums, is real hatred toward women, contempt toward women, and putting women in a double bind, which is if you don't sleep with, then you're a prude, or if you don't sleep with the guy, you're a bitch, and if you do have sex, then you're a slut. So women are always in a lose-lose position, and that seems to be running rampant in incel forums, and it seems counterproductive goal of having a relationship, because if you want a relationship with someone, that I think a healthy one implies mutual respect and a level of trust, and I don't see from the incel communities, characterizations and bits that I've seen from it, that the men are beginning those skills. And one of the things that I've learned in the course of my research was that if you look at, let's take those odds and say that a lot of guys are going to see their sexual activity pick up in their late 20s and into their 30s, and we look statistically, and the chances of somebody getting married over the course of their lifetime by the time they're 75 is like 90-some%, 95-some%, right? So if you go into it saying it's a darn good chance I am going to meet someone and have sex and get married, it seems to me that the incel forum, a much better, more productive thing to focus on would be, one, learning how to have a healthy relationship. And one thing, like I said, coming back to it, I know from studies and how people communicate, how men and women communicate, is that when you talk about friendships, of opening up to somebody and telling them your real thoughts and your feelings, we call it intimacy, friendship intimacy, that if you ask people to rate with men and women, the people with whom they have the most friendship intimacy, women will say, well, my most intimate friendships are with other women, and then men. And men, in the studies that I read, said, my most friendship intimate relationships are with women and then with men. And I think if you are going to be in a relationship, then having platonic friendships and getting to know women as people and just learning how to be a good friend and how to communicate with a lot of different women platonically is going to set men up much better for relationships just in general. And also, much better than like talking about how much you hate yourself. Get out the Kama Sutra and think about some skills and some tactics, because again, very likely it will happen in the course of your lifetime. So rather than moaning on about how horrible it is that you're not currently in a relationship, and there are things that it's not a platitude as well. These are sort of statistical inevitabilities. It's like wearing a seatbelt. Eventually, you're probably going to be in an accident on the road long enough so you put on a seatbelt. Same thing. Like, study on what to do, like what makes women happy. Learn the female anatomy. Do that kind of stuff. Get ready. So that, it's a great experience when it does happen. And look forward to it rather than bemoan it. That's at least my take. I think Incels Forum would be a much better place.
Well, and two,
And
once I think you'll find that once you actually get to the relationship part, you'll miss the days where you had some peace and quiet on your own.
So basically, it's just a law of large numbers. If you hang out with enough women, you're bound to get laid or something. And by the way, I do agree with you on the fact that the more you know about a woman, the much better your chances. That's why smart guys do well. We study these things.
Right. So you touched on a lot of things. First of all, I would like to say that even though I am not like the ultimate authority on incels, I am basically the leader right now of, I suppose, the incel community, even though some people are gonna disagree on that. So, I basically founded the forum. I've been involved in the forum daily for over a year. I was on the subreddit before it got banned. So I would like to say that the definitions that you have on incels and the definitions that I have on incel, you should probably listen to me, because I am the one who, at the end of the day, has the most experience, right? I'm not trying to be arrogant. I'm simply stating a fact. Second of all, I find it very ironic that you sometimes have the audacity of saying that not to generalize women when you are doing exactly that for incels. You're saying, incels hate people, or women, or incels know nothing about women. I've been to college. I've talked to girls. I have female friends for years now. So actually, the fact that I can't have a romantic relationship is not necessarily correlated with the fact that I do not understand girls, because I would like to think that for the most part I do. I'm sorry, but I do not believe that I am sounding like a very uneducated person.
I did specify the forums and the content on the forums. Nothing I said had your name in it. Just to clarify, it was not a personal attack. I was talking about the content on the forums.
No problem, but I am sure that you meant it as a generalization. In any community, and I mean in any, you will find many ignorant people, many people that are angry, that are bitter, that are I don't know, whatever negative adjective you want to use. So, of course, in our community, we also have people who are angry, bitter, and sometimes angry at women. That doesn't mean that it's intrinsic to the community, that it's saying that if you're incel, you hate women or you do not understand them. Appearance manifests itself very early, just after puberty, which means that most of our members, I imagine, are very young, which means that they haven't had as much time to mature emotionally, which means that therefore they are going through the stages of acceptance, grief, depression, anger, bargain. They're going through anger right now, which is anger towards women, because they feel that perhaps they are the ones who are flawed in not accepting guys for who they are in terms of personality, rather than just going by looks. And again, I am not generalization that all girls are like this, just the majority, and I will send you all the service that you want.
You're not generalizing, just the majority. Okay, that's great.
Well, yes, again, English is not my first language. I apologize if that sounded wrong.
I want to touch on a point that you kind of hinted at there. The ones that are the sort of the hate filled ones, the ones that say the awful things about women and have those kind of views. What do you do as the administrator of that forum? Do you have any protocols, any rules that you follow to actively kind of kick those people out, or how do you interact with that particular subset of the incels?
If you're talking about how we deal with hatred, as I said, one of the 2 points in terms of goals for the site is, one, to be very pro free speech, which means that as long as a person is simply stating their mind and not trying to harm anyone or themselves, or not doing any harm to people, they can state whatever they want. And I very much like that. And it doesn't have to do with incels. This is just my ideology, which I apply to the forum, which, for example, Reddit is one of the places that shut us down because we did not follow politically correct speech guidelines. Actually, the subreddit R Incels had been open for years, I believe, at least 2 years perhaps, and it had always followed the rules, and it only got banned because at some point it became so notorious that Reddit said, well, this community is giving us a bad PR, so let's just shut it down and say that they were incited violence or something. So they shut us down, and I thought, let's try to make a community that actually allows free speech without censorship or without worrying about how other people are going to view us. Therefore, as long as the person is simply stating their mind, they can talk. Yes?
Out of curiosity, has anyone who's been a mass shooter been a member of your forum?
No, never. In fact, out of the shooters, I believe, well, let me just state it. Let's talk about the shooters just for a second. I don't know the names of everyone, but for example, Elliot Rogers, I'm sure that's the I'm sure there's a Latin word for the to go to to the.
Isn't he called?
Whatever.
Isn't he
Doesn't
called
matter.
the distinguished? Isn't he called the distinguished gentleman in your circles?
The supreme gentleman. Careful.
Oh yes, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you for the correction.
The what?
The supreme gentleman.
He called
right?
himself.
Okay.
Yeah, he called himself the supreme gentleman because I suppose his personality was so amazing that he was a true gentleman. At least that's what he said, right? I didn't know him. I just want to make the point that Elliot wasn't an incel because one, he was. I mean, you tell me, but I think he was kind of attractive for a man, and handsome, not attractive. And as far, I actually read his manifesto just because everyone mentions him when talking about incels, and he actually never approached the girl, so he doesn't even fit the definition of incel. He's not involuntarily. If you don't approach, how do you know you're going to reject you? So he's not an incel. Actually, he just went on some bodybuilding forums or something like that, and then the media.
But wait, didn't you say that it was? Didn't you say that an incel is anyone who's ever had a tough time getting in a relationship? And even in your own forums, people who are in relationships can still say as long as they don't talk about it. So I don't think that your definition of incel actually maps onto the definition you're applying here.
No,
you're saying he's too good looking to be an incel, but isn't incel a perception of yourself? And if you feel like you haven't gotten sex or a relationship, you are incel because you're involuntarily celibate. So he could have been incel by your definition.
No, because his manifesto spans many years, and in those many years, he never once talked about approaching a single girl. If he never approaches, how can it be involuntarily? Second, the fact that we allow black pill people doesn't mean that these black pill people are incels. In fact, they're not. So even though we're an incel forum, we allow people that are not incels. If these people are violent or terroristic, it has nothing to do with incels. I mean, of course, we're going to ban them if they are, but So I mean, if you're trying to imply that perhaps we have Elliot Rogers on the forums,
I asked because I didn't know. I said. I framed it as I didn't know. I was just asking because I didn't know. That's why I asked.
Right.
It was a question.
So, why is it that somebody like Elliot Rogers is sort of categorized as an incel? What is it about the? I guess what I'm trying to get at is what is it about the community that has gotten this sort of dark and almost dangerous vibe to it, because that's how it's portrayed in the in the media and
right.
So why is that? Well, why is that?
Well, the answer is very simple. The answer is very simple. It's that, of course, I'm sure that all that I've said about incels, or at least the majority of things that I've said about incels, most people didn't know, right? Well, the answer then is very simple. Media simply tries to. It's very sensationalistic. What sells more? Talking about the black pill and ugly guys who can't get laid, or talking about a mass shooter who killed people who belongs to this toxic community of incels? I'm sure you know the answer. So for every single terroristic act where the guy has been, when the guy has hated women, he has been labeled incel, even though they never used the word incel. Like, I believe Elliot Rogers not once used the word incel. So he doesn't fit the definition. He never approached girl. He's quite handsome. He never used the word, and yet he's like the beginning of all incels. Of course, it makes no sense. And I'm sure you can check for the facts yourself. I don't want to say that this is like this, but from what I remember,
So why does he have
never
so
used
much
the word.
respect in? Why does he have so much respect in the community then?
No, he doesn't. It actually gets mentioned so much because the media has pushed it onto us. If everyone comes along and says that your community started because of a mass shooter, of course the mass shooter is going to be a part of the topic intrinsically of your community, right? Because other people have defined it as such. We don't respect. Why would I respect a person who killed people? That doesn't make any sense. We use him as a
I guess
meme.
calling him
I'm
the
sure
supreme gentleman. I guess calling him the supreme
I mean, it
gentleman
sounds
and referring to them. Yeah, it sounds pretty bad, doesn't it?
It sound? Yeah, no, it sounds pretty stupid. I mean, supreme gentleman, really? I mean, you think we really praise someone who?
People praise Dylan Roof too, and they're about to shoot people. So
is he held
Why
in
are
any
you
high
trying to label us
esteem
as
or
a
regard in the
community? I'm sorry.
I have to ask: is he actually held in any high esteem or regard in the community, in the incel community? What does his name keep coming up in the incel communities?
As I said, because everyone seems bent on pushing it onto us. I mean, as I said, I go to college, I have work. I'm sure you don't imagine. I don't know. You tell me, because it sells newspapers, I guess. Because feminists like to push the name onto us. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's nothing that they embrace, but it nonetheless gets pushed in their direction. Would that be fair to summarize your?
Okay. Yeah, very much. As I said, the guy is not even incel. Why is he with us?
his
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's a what?
But of course, I mean, are you speaking directly from knowledge of what you've seen on the forums? Because I know I've seen, again, I would encourage people to go and check out the ContraPoints thing. If we go back to the idea of amending and not being attractive or something, one of the things that Natalie said in the video was that sometimes in the incel forums, they will post pictures and then everybody will tell them how ugly they are. And she said, they just look like normal guys. And so I think
I'm sorry, but
the negative reinforcement of the fact that you can't get laid in the black pill sort of sense isn't very good for men. I think it's not a good environment, healthy environment for men.
Doctor, yes, I'm really sorry, but you're telling me that you get your facts from this person from YouTube that is a girl who isn't even allowed on our forums. I've been with the community for years. I'm literally the creator. I'm not an authority in the supreme authority or anything, just to use the word supreme again. But I suppose that I know more than you. So when you say that hatred is embedded on the forum, and I tell you that it is not, I would like you to believe
But we
me.
can't check that, right? But we can't check that, so that's a pretty big claim
Dr. Winters,
to ask us to accept.
I'm not comfortable pushing the Elliot Rodgers narrative on them as a whole when he's just disavowed it. I think that's we should take him at his word. Sure, yeah, I understand, but I think we should just take it. Now, here's a question that I had, and I hope that this doesn't come across as I don't want to come across as crass or like it's sarcastic or any way. But if your primary motive as an incel is to have a sexual experience relationships, are there people who are considering like paying for it? Like, would that be an option?
Oh, right. Are you saying whether right? So paying for sex?
Yeah. Would that be a viable?
Right. So, if you wanted sex, then of course going to a sex worker would be the obvious answer. However, Inceldom has little to do with sex. It's not about wanting sex. It's about wanting validation, love, having a real relationship with care and affection. So, I mean, if it was about sex, I would go right now to a sex worker and just get rid of the Inceldom today. But it's not.
Sure. Well, I think it's a good that we brought that up, because I think there may be some people out there who think that it's based on a sexual. So like I said a second ago, we're going to switch gears a little bit. Do you have? I know that maybe I'm sure you have several questions that you would like to ask somebody who is more on the feminist side from your standpoint, or to try to understand, that side better. Or is anything come to mind that you'd like to, while you have the opportunity here, to ask Dr. Winters?
Well, in all sincerity, I don't believe that anything the doctor can say will bring any illumination, to my side of how I view things. I've had my fair share of emails and messages on pretty much all contact points of people who have called us all amount of names, and I've had to explain painstakingly every single time why. Just like we have had today, right? I've had to explain all of this over and over, and so I've had more than enough time to recheck my arguments and understand whether I'm wrong or right. And for the most part, I believe that I'm very sound in the arguments that I give. But sure. Well, doctor, more than anything, I would like to ask you, where do you get your facts? Like, you have these preconceptions about incels that have nothing to do, it seems, the red pill, the blue pill, you seem to tie it all very much to hatred of towards women. And it has nothing, I mean, I have female friends, and they're actually female incels. Femcels is a subreddit on Reddit. So, if inceldom is about hating women, then why are there girls who are incels? That, do they hate girls too? But my question was rather, where do you get your facts regarding incels?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to do tonight was ask you questions about that, because I came and asked you quite a lot of questions because I wanted to learn more about the topic. So I get information from the news. I look at posts and information that comes out, and yeah. So I guess by reading the media. So
right.
and of
so
course I have the opportunity to and the opportunity to talk to you tonight. So.
Right. So, but
that's where I get my information from.
Right, but aren't you basically saying that you take your information about incels from the media instead of going to our incel mains, the biggest incel site and checking the actual?
I can't join
you. Of course, you can. You can't register, but our 100% of our posts are visible. I don't understand why you need to register to read the posts. I mean, it's literally on the top, the navigation bar.
I'm not sure why you're yelling at me when I've just spent the last hour asking you questions.
Well, I apologize if it sounds like I'm yelling. I'm certainly not. What I'm trying to say is that if you are so bent on being critical about this, why do you go to mainstream media and perhaps not so mainstream media, mostly sensationalistic media, to get information about incels, when you have the contact form that goes directly to an incel on our forum, where you have,
Well, this is why, again, I availed myself. It's why I availed myself of the opportunity to ask you questions. So I think that's been asked and answered twice now.
Yes, but you keep saying that. But yet, why did you need to wait until you were on a live audio stream with me instead of going to a comprehensible bullet point question and answer thing on our forum? Did you not think of that?
I don't think that. I don't think that. I understand the sentiment, but I don't think that this line of questions is going to lead anywhere that's going to end well or be productive.
I apologize.
So, I think you've made your point, and we can move on to the to a next one if you'd like.
Well, I don't think I have any more questions right now, but thank you, Dr. Kristi, for everything.
Sure. And Dr. Winters, anything that you want to wrap up with, or any final questions since you've got this?
Yeah, I would just say that I do hope that this. I do hope that this conversation is posted in the members forum, and that I hope people listening will take away the message. Look at the data, look at the numbers and statistics. Time is on your side. Probability is on your side. It gets better, and you don't have to hang around in a miserable place because there are things that you can be enjoying in life, even video games. I don't have the ability to play the Xbox or any of the things, so I'm watching the walkthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2 right now, and it's an amazing story. That's a much better use of your time than being angry on the internet, whether it's Twitter or a forum. So it gets better.
Doctor,
that would be my message.
Right. Well, let's not continue this, but I would just like to say that if anyone wants get let's say insight from the other side of the pond, my open. We have a contact form on this website that is available without registering, without using your real email or name. We have a frequently asked questions things on the site as well. All the information is there. You don't need to go to your favorite newspaper and read everything there as facts.
I hope you
can
share my
certainly
data
do
too.
your own. Sure. Yeah, sure. Of course. We have all scientific data as well.
I have two questions that I pulled from the live chat. The people tagged me in from the live chat. I'll ask real quick. To Sarge, is the incel move? You kind of already clarified this up in the last question that I asked you, but just to kind of go over it again, is the incel movement founded on a lack of sex or a lack of companionship with a member of the opposite sex, which is more important to the members of the community as a whole?
Of course, that's a valid question. Well, first of all, it's not a movement. It's simply a situation. We don't have any aim. Like, we're not trying to change the world. We're just guys who can't get laid. Or get into a relationship, a meaningful relationship. Answering your question itself, it's all about the validation love of a romantic relationship. Sex, if we really just wanted sex, we would go to a sex worker. But I suppose I understand why some people would think that that's not the same, in quotes. But it's not, right? We want a girlfriend that, cuddle and kiss and have fun and go out and go to the movies and such.
And this question, how can you justify a main reason for being an incel is that women only want attractive men when beauty standards and subjective to many factors like personal tastes, culture, etc. apply?
Well, okay. Could you repeat it one more time?
Sure. How do you justify that one of the main reasons that people are incels is that women only want attractive men when things like standards, personal tastes, culture, etc. also come into play?
Thank you. Well, there's two things I want to say there. One, I don't say that all girls just want hot guys. That's a very vast generalization. I'm sorry, you actually, Kristi, laughed when I say generalization. What I mean by generalization is that I'm not saying that all girls are like that, literally all of them. I'm just saying the majority. In general, when a girl looks at a guy, if the guy is very attractive, she's going to be far more interested than she is not. There are unattractive guys with girlfriends, of course, and no one's saying that it's impossible. It's just very unlikely. So I'm not justifying.
Well, you're talking about a
like
specific kind of woman, because women are married and there are lesbians, and so when we talk about you're getting a narrower and narrower pool when you're trying to generalize about women. That's one of my critiques, just in terms of how you generalize.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kristi. Can continue.
Somebody just posted this question in the live chat, and I don't know if I want to open that. Okay, what are your views on some people from the trans community? Like, if how would your policy with not allowing females in, how would all of that come to play with someone who was from the trans community? Or have you had an issue with that?
Not so far. I mean, as I said, the fact we don't allow females have nothing to do with hatred or any negative emotion towards them. It's simply the fact they don't have a place in our forum. As for trans people, I have nothing against them. I mean, I'm sure they did what they did for a reason. As for whether we would allow them or not, I actually would have to think about that. I don't think we have had a case yet, so I couldn't be sure. We have many moderators, so maybe other people have that case. But I mean, personally, I'm fine with them.
Okay. And Dr. Winters, while I have you here, I don't want to close out the show without touching on some points from feminism, because I think people today have sort of like almost with the incel community, maybe, where people get sort of the part of the wing of feminism that is the extreme, and so that in turn becomes what people think when they think of a feminist, the feminazis, that sort of thing. Can you kind of explain what your beliefs in feminism and what feminism is to you personally?
Sure. I think that for me, most recently, the best way to exemplify it is the women's marches that happened all over, not only the United States, but happened globally as well. And one of the amazing things about the women's marches is that it wasn't just women. There were men there. I was actually there myself for the first one in DC with Steve Shives. He was my march buddy, and Kristi was there too, but we got separated by the crowds. But it wasn't one thing in that group. It was people marching for Black Lives Matter, for immigrant issues, for women's health, for Obamacare and healthcare, for criminal justice, for economic reform, increasing the minimum wage. It represented the fact that equality touches every part of our lives. And so because feminism is about, it comes from a place of believing that men and women have that we start off as human beings as equals. All human beings start with a certain inalienable rights that it's, we construct them by society, but it's a right, it's a legal, and we think a human right, morally as well as if not, legal in law. And one of the ways that we have seen discrimination practiced in terms of history and power in economics has been based on sex. And we've inherited that history and the attitudes that went with it, patriarchal attitudes about men being superior because they're men. It's a bit tautological. It's like saying a bachelor is a single man. Why are men in power? Because they're men. And we realize that's not a really good basis for power. And democracy, for instance, is a much better basis for power. And so I think feminism touches all parts of our lives, and that is represented in the Women's March. And that's why also as a movement, it's been able to go forward and adapt to issues, because it's not one thing and it's not about one group. It's actually about how we live our lives and how we're in some ways trapped by the history, these sexist, outdated attitudes, and how we can free ourselves and each other by letting go of them and trusting in our each other's equality.
And Sarge, is there anything that Dr. Winters said that you would disagree with fundamentally in her explanation of feminism, or your view of how you kind of see it?
Well, I'm sure just like our community doesn't like to be labeled by outsiders, I would not dare label feminism by my personal views. I certainly have my own definition of feminism, but that's things that I've gathered from outside sources. So I'm sure if Kristi says say so, it must be that way, right?
Okay. I'm going to pull up see the super chats real quick. Steve, do you have anything that you want to announce?
No, I'm going to wait for the super chat. No, I think I'm going to hold off here a little bit. Let's get to the super chats, and maybe we can talk about those a little bit.
Well, while I pull those up, sure. While I pull those up, guys, I'm going to let you take a couple minutes to say any last minute thoughts that you have. Wrap up kind of anything that comes to mind, and then once again let everybody know where they can find out either more about the Incels as a whole with the forum, or Dr. Winters, anything that you've got coming up, and we'll start with you whenever you're ready.
Who's you?
Dr. Winter. I'm sorry, Dr. Winters.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to step on anyone's verbal, right. So again, yeah, you can. No worries. You can find me on Twitter at kwinte, and also, like I said, I have my YouTube channel. Of late, in addition to me watching on YouTube Red Dead Redemption 2, I've been getting into hip hop, and so I did some video chats where I talk about a bunch of stuff, including rap battles and diss battle and the diss tracks. But I guess the thing I got coming up more recent in the near future is doing a critique of the funding scheme that I see Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin putting together to replace Patreon. So that might be coming up in the next day or two. That'll be fun. I'm sure that won't get any blowback.
I have no doubt. All right, Sarge?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. It's been very nice being here. And as for how to contact me, I'll repeat that our website is Incels.is, and you can contact me at Sergent at Incels.is. For more information about Incels, you can go to our website to check the rules or the contact form at the bottom of the page, which will me directly, and that will be all.
I think, and before I read these super chats, I think that I would be. It wouldn't make any sense for me not to ask this question, and I had it written down. I just we got so caught up in the conversation. What happened with the because I know people are going to be asking why I didn't ask this question. What happened with the forum in terms of switching from Incels.me to Incels.is? Like, why was there a switch over there? Do you want to speak to what happened there?
Yes, it's a very regrettable thing. Actually, the same thing that happened with Reddit. I guess that our registrar thought that we were being bad PR because, well, most people seem to think that incels equals terrorist or evil, creepy person. So, as a registrar, they think that having incels there is a very bad PR move. So they kicked us off. We had been there for over a year and it happened. So obviously it wasn't because of something illegal. They just didn't want us there anymore. So we had to make the switch. They actually kicked us out, which is very regrettable.
Okay. Let me see here. Jason Stringer, thank you for the super chat, asks, how do incels feel about mail order brides? That seems like a perfect fit.
I mean, I don't know how the whole thing works. I know it's actually a very legitimate thing in other parts of the world, mainly East Asia, I suppose. I don't know. It's fun to think about, but but I don't know how it will work in practice. Not only legally, but just having a person that you ordered via mail. I don't know. The morally,
it's also very financially limiting.
Sure, yeah, I suppose that would be kind of expensive.
Well, look at that. We're both on look at that, Sarge. We're both kind of. No, I was just like that's nice. Sarge and I both feel kind of icky about mail order bride. That's nice.
Boom, and I asked the question in the title of this video, is there any common ground? And it overjoys me to know that we found that mail order brides is the middle ground here. So this was productive.
That's why I thought I'd pipe up.
Yeah.
I thought I'd pipe up for that.
Okay, let's see. Bill Ashby says, Steve, you've had enough sex not to need Tinder. That's questionable. Noble Athenian.
Not in the last year. Okay, trust me on that one.
Noble Athenian, we don't need to know anymore. Noble Athenian says, is this really a thing? Yes. Brian Stevens, there is only missionary. All others are from Stan. I would love to know the context of that. Brian, context. Blue Sir the Fox. I'm disabled myself and have problems with my looks. Women/men only caring about looks aren't worth being with anyway. It's not a problem with women. It's a problem with shallow people. A good attitude helps a lot. Anything you'd want to say back towards that, Sarge?
Yeah, actually, something that I didn't mention is that personality ends up mattering a lot in long relationships. Once the relationship is already established, personality ends up being the biggest factor. But however, the problem with incels is that they can't get one in the first place, so personality never comes into play. It's all about, well, in general, it's about appearance. So if you can't find girls, I understand.
I know a lot of women who fall in love with guys that they were friends with for a long time, and then they kind of looked at them differently one night and whatever. So, I mean, it's not always hitting on strangers.
I'm sure you've been asked this question before, but this was kind of, but prior to this conversation, this was kind of my question in terms of like dealing with the topic of incels. My question was, why spend the time, either angry or talking to other people who are angry about not being in a relationship. And granted, I know this is me generalizing the entire community as a whole. I fully admit that. Like I said, this is prior to this conversation, but why wouldn't they spend that time doing the things that they need to work on the areas where they're having an issue, whether it be they're too shy or maybe going to the gym and repping out that anger instead of typing it out. I'm sure you've been asked that question before. How would you answer something like that?
Well, it's a very valid question. First of all, are so depressed that they don't have the willpower to do anything, or they feel that it wouldn't work, or that it doesn't even help, just as a improvement in itself, having nothing to do with growth, right? They just feel it doesn't work, or it doesn't matter. But a lot of other people actually do feel that, and they do what it's called looks maxing. It's just a lingo, but it just means improving your looks, going to the gym, eating healthy, which also improves your life, as on the side, because it's just a good thing to do in itself. So it's not that we spend all the time on the forum. I certainly myself like reading a lot, and I try to improve myself in many areas. But there was one more thing I wanted to say. What was it?
I have a question.
Oh, right. Yeah, you can ask it, but let me just finish this little point.
No, yeah, please finish. Please finish.
Thank you. And is that you say, why spend all this time on the forum? Well, something that I want to say is that in Maslow's hierarchy of needs, love, companionship, and friendship, and even sex is there at the bottom of the pyramid. So it's quite a basic need. Not sex necessarily, right? You can live without sex, but man is a social animal, so it's a very core need of a person. Therefore, it's understandable that it would be in the mind of a person for a long time, something that is recurring. So that's why the forum exists, because I don't want to say that it's like super important, but it's clearly something that is important.
It gives you community. Yeah, I understand that. Yeah. Kristi?
Yeah, my question was, and I'm sincere in this because I don't know, but if a person identifies, if a guy identifies as an incel, and a woman he's not attracted to is hitting on him, and he turns down the relationship, is he still? Like, I wonder how much of this is, are you, because I think sometimes too, there's, guys who want to go for a certain kind of woman, and they overlook women who, maybe have a great personality but aren't their perfect ideal type. So I'm just kind of wondering, how does it work when it's coming from your rejecting advances?
That's a very good question, actually. Well, see, I can't give a definite answer here, because as human beings, everyone has a certain standard, right? Yeah. Just because you're incel doesn't mean that you are going... Right. So if you are incel, but say, I don't want to stereotype people, but let's just say a 1 out of 10 girl in terms of appearance hits on you, right? And you want, you like somewhat more attractive girls, and you reject that girl. Are you still incel? Well, actually, I'm not sure of the answer. I guess it depends on the person. I would say that if the girl hits on you, then perhaps you are not, but I wouldn't be sure.
This is a good question. Very good question.
Fair enough. I don't know is a perfectly acceptable answer when you don't know. So yeah, fair enough.
Sure. 0132 was Alec Minassian part of your forum? Thank you for the super chat.
No, he never was. And actually, he only talked about Sergeant 4chan. Has nothing to do with my username, by the way. He just mentioned 4chan. He never mentioned incels. And I also saw his picture. He wasn't that unattractive. I'm sure he could get girls if he really wanted to. So again, I don't think he was incel. Just the media portrayed him as one, even though he never used the word incel. Just
can I ask, what does a guy have to look like to make you go, yeah, he's definitely an incel? Because you kind of dismiss these guys as... Because I don't know. I mean, it's really subjective. And I'm just thinking a lot of people who are incels are actually, fine-looking guys. They just don't feel confident.
All right. So,
or they're even a disability, but they've got that great personality that people connect with.
Right. So, I'm not saying my standards of what someone needs to be attractive is not out of the common. I don't think anyone in this chat, besides me, because you can see my picture, is an attractive. You're all fine. Now, so in terms of whether a person is attractive or not, everyone, irrespective of race, religion, or age, can know whether a person is attractive or not objectively. Even babies, they take 13 milliseconds in knowing whether a person is attractive or not. They actually, if you put an attractive man with a mask of an attractive man and a mask with an unattractive man side by side, the baby will immediately look towards the attractive person. I suppose it has to do with symmetry and youthfulness and certain evolutionary traits that we like in people. So objectively, we can know whether someone is attractive or not. Of course, then you have certain things like I like brunettes and I like blondes, and I like short people and I like tall people. Within a certain parameter, we can say I like this person more and you like that one more. But overall, attractiveness is a certainly objective science within certain parameters. Yeah.
Can I actually now? Can I do one of those as a woman kind of speeches?
Yeah.
So I can't talk about all women, but I can talk about my experiences. And while I think I do have a certain type, like David Tennant, like long, thin, lanky, definitely like bird-like nose, geeky, nerdy, bookish, D&D playing, video game playing, right? That was my type. And in terms of my experience, and I'm pretty old. I've met a lot of people, and I have been I found people attractive without following up on it. I think anyone who lives long enough can know what that means, right? For me, it was never like, you're so gorgeous, I don't care about what you say. It was always a personal connection. And so even though studies are done in labs with visuals and they're using evo-psych ideas, which is highly unfalsifiable in a lot of ways, I know the baby stuff, there is a benefit for being attractive for anybody, man or woman. There's a social benefit to being attractive. That's not disputed. But the idea that relationships are so heavily focused on attractiveness, I have to say personally, that's not been my experience. I've sometimes been surprised at the people I've been attracted to because their personality makes them my type. Does that make sense?
Well, of course, your opinion is certainly valid.
Yeah, that's just
of course,
me,
of course.
As the one woman in the room who's attracted to men, So.
Right. I mean, I could talk about my own personal experiences, but I don't want to bring the I into the we, right?
Fair
all that I've said here is about the community and the world in general, as we know it. Of course, you will find certain people who are unattractive and they have a great sex and romantic life, and you will find, I don't know, girls who like ugly people, ugly boys, and you have everything in human life, right?
And the key is to going out, and the key is to going out and meeting people so that you have the opportunity for those experiences, which kind of means getting off the internet, going out, and even if you don't want to necessarily go out and be social, be in social places with people you feel comfortable with, because they'll introduce you to new people, So I think that's positive.
Do you have do gay incels exist? Is that a thing?
Well, actually, you can do the experiment yourself. If you swipe on Tinder, if you swap on Tinder, like your preference to males, actually you will get like tons of males. It's like really people who are interested in relationships. Yeah, like I just tried it because it has nothing to do. Like I got like 100 matches right away.
Oh, I'm actually gay. I don't know if you knew that or not, but I was sitting here thinking, like,
really?
I was just sitting.
Really?
Yeah, I was just.
Now you tell us.
Shut up! I was just sitting here thinking, like, okay, guys are super horny all the time. Is it possible to have a gay incel? Like, could that be a thing? So, I don't know. I don't know if on like your forum you've had any like run-ins with people who are openly gay and call themselves an incel, or how that works.
Well, I don't know if this counts.
Yeah, but
I had, sorry, I could speak from, again, personal experience. I have a gay friend, and I guess you could maybe say, he wanted a long-term relationship, but he was really not finding anyone, and occasionally he would hook up, and for a long so I don't know if that's a yes or no, but
and what would you say to that, Serge?
But of course, he wasn't black-pilled in any way,
Sure.
Right. Well, I was actually going to answer your question, Kyle, regarding if we found any gay people on the forum. We actually have had a couple. Sadly, we banned them because, as I said, it's guys in general are very horny, and it's kind of easy to hook up. So, I mean, I believe I'm not particularly gay myself, but I believe that it's fairly easy for gay males to find relationships. So we do not allow them. As long as they don't talk about it. I mean, if they don't say anything, they're fine.
Relationships or sex, though? That's because that was the key distinction earlier.
Good point. Well, I guess if you can find one, then it leads to the other, right? I'm not sure.
Well, theoretically,
none
yes.
of the relationships I've had. Yeah,
theoretically.
Yeah, theoretically.
But the logic for straight guys, the logic for straight guys, though, was that they could actually have relationships and be in the forums.
Would I be a gay cell?
As I said, as long as you're black-pilled, which means that you won't go out of your way to tell us that we are wrong in things. As long as you if you give science-backed facts, that's fine. But if you just go out of your way to give us platitudes, we're going to kick you out because you're not black-pilled. But if you're married or gay or anything, you can be in the forum as long as you don't talk about it.
I took the
no one wants to hear about that.
I took the rainbow pill. I like all of them.
Yeah. That's fine.
Take the rainbow pill, everyone. Take the rainbow pill.
And
by the way, the live chat for some reason is blowing up with Kyle. You're really gay, Kyle. You're gay. You know this. Stop. Listen. Your mother and father told you about this. Okay, we have guests here, and you are acting up. So I need you to pull yourselves together, chat. Pull yourselves together. You can do this. Okay, I've got two more.
Is amazing in the chat. Yeah.
2 more super chats to read. Noble Athenian says, "Get over it." I'm not sure what that is in reference to exactly because that came in at. Well, it doesn't have the time, but it wasn't here recently, so I can't be sure what that's in reference to. And then again says, "Please get Shannon in to round this up." Shannon knows that she can come in. This is her second home, so
carte blanche anytime.
Yeah. But thank you guys both for coming in and having this talk. This went. I'm going to be honest with both of you. This went miles smoother than I thought it would. I thought that
the Twitter dumpster fire was more lit than this. I was pleasantly surprised, actually.
Well, that's because the drama people were out.
We had braced ourselves for quite a.
I can imagine why.
Yeah.
Well, you're both on completely ends of the spectrum, and so usually it's our experience that when you put those 2 different ends in the same room, it always ends with one of them getting kicked off, always. But this went rather well. So
very
thank
pleasant.
You both.
Yes, Serge. That's how you pronounce it, right, Serge? Is it Serge?
Sarge.
Oh, sorry.
Sarge. Yeah, I got to admit, you're very well spoken, and you had a lot of answers that I hadn't even thought about before. So I was very impressed, to be honest with you.
Actually, a lot of people tell me that. Yeah.
You both. I think you both came in a mindset. I think that. And this is me just completely thinking that your ideologies would cause you both to. Get either too passionate or too heated in the moment, but you both kind of stayed very well stuck to your gun. So that's impressive. So yeah, thank you both. Steve, anything you want to say, wrap up, announcements, any of that sort of thing before we say goodnight to everyone?
People just wondering what it'd be like if Kyle and I got married. Well,
oh God, why?
Yeah, that is kind of creepy in many different ways. I don't even know why somebody would ask something.
As an outside observer audience, I can honestly say jack shit would change in this dynamic if they got married.
Probably, exactly. It pretty much be no different than it is now. Yeah,
that is true. Good point. 2 more super chats just came through. Eso says, "Holy shit, Kyle is gay." No, it's a lie. That's just the character I play here on this show. Actually, I'm from Great Britain, and I am a carpenter. So not gay, totally straight. I have a wife with 3 kids. And then Bill Ashby says, Kyle, you're a beautiful human being. Well, thank you, Bill. You are a beautiful human being as well. And we are glad that you are here. Okay. That's going to be it for us here tonight. You can join us tomorrow, as you can every Saturday at 9 p.m. for Saturday Night Fights. 4, 5, or 6 videos that he's put out on us. I'm not really sure what he called us out on. For the videos that I saw, he sees smoke and snakes in clouds, and this somehow proves the planet and that we are being controlled by something. I don't know what, but he'll be here tomorrow to clue us in on whatever that is. And he also, Steve, smashed his phone, I believe, and saw things in the cracks. So
don't we all?
Yeah, there's really not much you can say back to that. We'll find out what his problem is tomorrow when he comes on, and fight the flat Earth will
That's
be
really hard
with
to
us
say,
as
isn't
well.
it? He needs to change his name.
It is.
Nope.
It is. Fight the flat Earth will be with us
I get
as well.
tongue twisted. Fight the flat. Yeah, it's very hard.
Last announcement. I worked really hard for Dan Branson says Anita Sarkeesian rules. That's going to get people stirred up.
There you go.
I'm going to. We're not touching that one.
Next topic.
I have a big announcement to make. Actually, recently Reds and Team Cunt did a really cool thing during a live stream where they pushed us over the 20,000 subscriber mark. Right. We had like 20 to go or whatever. They went live and they made sure that we will do some flat Earth prank phone calls, and we will find out what makes Ned, because he's a very interesting guy, actually. So there you go, Red.